Now, media channels have gone through many changes over the years, many of which are groundbreaking. They've obviously revolutionized the way in which we operate. But we're no longer restricted to using just one or the other. There's a lot of confluence now, and every once in a while, a new channel is created or tweaked, and that is going to inform a discussion now with Christopher Debod, who's director of Phat Brand Activation. Before we get to the new media channels that you're talking about, Christopher, you're going to tell me that the brand activation space in itself has changed considerably over the past couple of years.
It has indeed. Where the brand activation space was always considered very separate from advertising and marketing in general, where you would have your above-the-line executions and you would have your below-the-line executions. And promotions and events always taking a back seat or getting the last thought. Where in the last 5 years in the economy, there has definitely been a change to more of an integrated marketing platform where you utilize more than one of the available media channels to the benefit of your brand or product.
You have two concepts, living media and variable media, which we'll get to in just a moment. But I need you to explain to me how all of a sudden you have created a new media platform out of what is ostensibly either a conference or a dinner or an event. I mean, it's a bit of a reach for many people.
That's correct. That's correct. Now, this comes from having worked in the industry over many, many years, and specifically looking at identifying the possibilities of what one can achieve correctly utilizing a promotions platform or an eventing platform. While considering that, for example, with events, every link in the value chain of an event, whatever that event may be, every link in that value chain is communicating a message about your brand, your company, or your product to the target audience, and therefore needs to be considered as a media channel.
So what you're saying to me is everything from the initial invitation to when the lights dim at the end of the event is a media opportunity.
Exactly the point. And through the entire process, you're communicating a message about your product or brand or your organization to the target audience.
So it would be your contention then that brands don't understand the value of this?
Correct.
In what respect? Where do they get it wrong?
Too much focus has been placed historically on above-the-line media. And although it has its purpose and it has its space and it has its benefits, you are more easily able to determine a return on investment in the shortest time possible, utilizing either promotions or events or living media and variable media, as I call them, utilizing one of those platforms to either drive sales, drive brand awareness, or communicate your message.
Let's talk about the difference then between living media and variable media. What is living media?
These two media channels were effectively developed from your old school promotions and events. The general thought of promotions within the industry is a person in a possibly oversized t-shirt, in probably oversized jeans, with possibly dirty sneakers on, handing out flyers, approaching you in a mall, giving you samples of food in a supermarket,
and you run a country mile, yes.
Exactly, exactly. We're taking a look at that concept and identifying again the fact that this person that is standing there is representing your brand, is effectively
a brand ambassador.
A brand ambassador communicating a message, again, about your product or your brand or your organization to the target audience. They would probably have been placed in the space that they are following a research project to identify where the target audience is most likely to be. And in that way, it should be managed like any other media channel.
And then the whole notion of variable media, that's about the planning and the coordination?
Variable media really speaks to the concept of the old school eventing thought process that we discussed earlier, where you have variable elements that you are planning and coordinating and executing in order to achieve the message that you need to.
But the difficulty, as you make, is getting the left hand and the right hand to work together to achieve that seamless result. But they don't always do that, though.
Always.
So how do you strategize around that?
There needs to be a plan to start with. Whenever I'm sitting in front of a client, I'll get a phone call to say, come and take a brief. I'll go sit in front of the client, and the client tells me they want to do this, they want to do this event, they want to do that. And the first thing I need to do is say to them, what do you want to achieve by doing this? And by me understanding what they want to achieve, it is my duty to then enter into discussions with them to help them understand maybe if they are requesting an event, it is not the right platform.
Conceivably, it might not even be an event.
Exactly, it might not be an event. I might say to them, listen, you actually should go and do a radio campaign. You actually should do out of house. You actually should do television. So it's helping the client to understand what their need is before just taking a brief and executing.
All right, if you've convinced me, then this is a final question, that you have now 2 bona fide new media channels.
Sure.
How do you see this concept or this philosophy growing? I mean, how much more sophisticated is it going to become? And I would imagine you could overlay a whole digital application around that.
Digital is obviously becoming very prevalent, and the use of digital platforms in order to drive and manage these 2 media channels is imperative. There are a host of different software packages that we can use, that we can develop in order to more effectively manage this process real time.
So the old days of just balloons and a couple of cocktails long gone, eh?
Very much
Christopher de Bod from Phat Brand Activation, thank you very much for joining us.